On that one. This one you might have a little bit of a harder time with. It's Tyreek Hill down at 89. So I imagine you're not a Tyreek Hill guy if you have him all the way down at 89 overall, below John Brown from the Cardinals. So I want to kind of hear first Tyreek Hill. Why no Tyreek Hill love? What do you not believe in? And then a little bit about John Brown. What's the upside here?
So first, I don't believe in Tyreek Hill because I think he's kind of a gadget player. And I think I don't want to say Cordell Patterson, but like, I don't know, kind of Percy Harvin-ish a little bit. But honestly, the main reason why I don't trust Tyreek Hill is because he's on the Chiefs. I mean, Alex Smith last year had a career high, 3,502 passing yards. I mean, let's not forget Alex Smith also 2 years ago had a season where he didn't even throw a touchdown to a wide receiver. I mean, that's only 2 years ago, and we're forgetting about that. Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're saying they're going to manufacture touches for this guy, but ultimately, I mean, are we really... I'm not confident in the Chiefs' offense, and it's not something that I'm going to invest in. Yes, I understand he had a good year last year, but we've seen so many guys, especially gadget players, they have one good year. I mean, Devin Hester. Devin Hester was an amazing gadget player. He's an amazing special teams player. They tried to convert him to a wideout, couldn't do it. Some guys are just really good in certain positions, and Tyreek Hill is a better receiver, I would think, than Hester and Cordell Patterson, but I don't know. I think the hype is way too high. I mean, Tyreek the Freak is an amazing athlete, but it doesn't mean he's a good wide receiver.
I know. I just see when I watch his film, I'm more of a films guy than a stats guy, and I just see a guy that I see him get off the line better than Patterson, who couldn't beat press coverage, and I see this guy he's small, but he's so quick twitch. He reminds me, I mean, this is obviously way too hyperbolic. He's not the next Antonio Brown, but just the way he can just go one direction and then his suddenness to go the other way. I see him getting releases against guys like Chris Harris and Richard Sherman. There's tape of him just kind of getting free releases off the line. He can beat him deep. Alex Smith is a huge factor there. I definitely agree that he's not an upside quarterback. I just think when you can score 12 touchdowns on less than 40% of the offensive snaps, and now you're talking about a full-time player. Yes, he's going to have more defensive attention. Yes, I'll have tape. I don't know. I have him up at, you have him at 89. I have him up in like my high 30s. So I guess we'll agree to disagree on that one, but I think a lot of people are throwing him in that gadget player, Tavon Austin, Patterson type of guy. I just think he has so much more raw talent and skill than those guys, and his work ethic's insatiable. I love him. I think he's going to actually develop into a very solid receiver. And, Alex Smith is a very high percentage guy. I think the quick slants, he's going to be peppered with them. I see him in a whole different light, I guess.
The truth is I'm pretty much halfway between you guys. I think our Wolf is way too high on him. I think you're probably too low on him. I will say that Chris Clark from the Locked on Chiefs podcast said that he thought that getting rid of Macklin was a horrible move, and that's going to detrimentally affect Tyreek Hill on over-the-top plays and stuff like that, for whatever it's worth.
Yes. Fair enough. What about John Brown? You have him above Hill. You really think John Brown's going to outscore Hill this year?
I think it's cool that you dropped a name like Antonio Brown, because I think we need to not forget that when John Brown was drafted in the exact same scheme, or like by the Bruce Arians scheme, Antonio Brown was also drafted by the Bruce Arians scheme. They're both I believe John Brown's 5'11", 179. Antonio Brown's 5'10", 180. Through the first 3 seasons of their careers, Antonio Brown has 152 catches. John Brown has 151 catches. John Brown has 200 more yards and 7 more touchdowns than Antonio Brown. Antonio Brown in his 4th year had 110 catches, 1,499 yards, and I believe 8 touchdowns. The other name that got thrown around with John Brown when he was coming out was Marvin Harrison. Marvin Harrison, in his 4th year, I believe had 115 catches, 1,663 yards, and 12 touchdowns. If John Brown's getting compared to those guys and he's now entering his 4th year, I think his upside alone on a team with the Cardinals, who we talk about how bad they were. I mean, Carson Palmer averaged 282 passing yards last year, 6th highest in the NFL. I think he had this sickle cell trait issue, and I'm not a doctor for Arizona, but if they feel like they have it figured out.
Despite the PhD.
Despite the PhD, exactly. But you almost have to kind of take their advice, and if they think that they have it figured out, I'm going to believe in John Brown because, just 2 years ago, the guy was putting up 1,000 yards, and he looked unbelievable. And I mean, when you want to talk about just metrics and like being able to run routes and stuff, I mean, I do believe in reception perception by Matthew Harmon.
Great article, yeah.
Matt
I'm
Harmon.
a fan. Yep.
And we have it for the fantasy footballers, and his like reception perception is off the charts. John Brown. Yeah. So I believe in the talent, and I think he is a smaller guy, but he does compare to these guys like Antonio Brown, Marvin Harrison on paper. I'm not saying he's going to come out and put up, 110 catches, 1,400 yards, and 10 touchdowns, but I think the upside's there, and that's why I'm going to go with John Brown.